name is Enrico Bonadio. I am a dual British and Italian citizen. I'm currently a senior lecturer at City University of London in the City Law School. I have a PhD from the University of Florence, a PhD in international intellectual property law. So my field of specialization is intellectual property law. It is the subject which I teach, which I do research on. I have recently started a research project, an academic research project on university innovation, academic patenting, together with my City Law School colleague, Dr. Luke McDonagh, and my colleague, Dr. Ana Betancourt at National University, Mexico City. So this research project consists of analyzing, assessing how innovation, intellectual property, which is created at certain universities, for example, my own university in London, and how such principles of creation and commercialization of IP at universities might be transplanted, might be implemented in other universities, for example, in Latin American universities, but not only. So we have traveled to the National University of Mexico City, we have traveled to the University of Havana in Cuba, and to Colombia, where we are visiting several universities. The aim is to verify whether the most important principles and rules and specific provisions of our own intellectual property policy in London might be taken as an example, might be implemented at Latin American universities. The project is a challenging one because, of course, we need to adapt such principles, such provisions to other different social, political contexts. So, for example, during our visit to Havana University a few weeks ago, we have assisted our colleagues at University of Havana and tried to adapt and to improve the IP policy that had already been adopted at that university, and try to transplant in such document principles that were foreign to that university. For example, with regards to the commercialization of intellectual property. So the challenge there was to try to inject into the Cuban academic, social and political context, certain commercialization principles. For example, with regards to royalties to be channeled, to be given to the inventor or to the creator of a certain invention or other valuable intellectual property. We have done so not only in Cuba, but in Mexico, at Mexico University. We have spoken to universities there. We are now in Colombia, speaking and sharing our experiences with universities here in Bogota, and learning also from local good practices, academic good practices. I also have recently traveled to an African country, so not a Latin American country, which is Zimbabwe, and visited the University of Zimbabwe there and talked to some scientists there that have informed me about the challenges that they have there when it comes to not only commercializing their own inventions, but also how to make sure that the university spin-outs that they have there could get ownership of IP created by the spin-out company in partnership with other external partners. So the challenge there has been to assist, and is being to assist them in contractually regulating the provision of raw materials for the subsequent working, and crucial rules on ownership of IP created in these academic contexts. So the research is a challenging one because, as I said, we need to adapt the principles and rules to different rules of our academic research experience to different social, political, and cultural a cultural context. Probably the main point, the main challenging point, as I also mentioned, is the one regarding royalties. Royalties to be channeled back to the inventor, to the creator of a certain invention. For example, coming back to the Cuban context, what we have witnessed there when we visited the University of Havana is that inventors there that have created in the past valuable IP did not get any reward, any economic consideration for what they have done in terms of creation. So, of course, we have interviewed, we have spoken to inventors that have communicated to us, they have told us about their frustration about the lack of economic reward for their activity. That's why we have suggested them to inject more rules, more principles in their IP policies, with a view to create an incentive, an economic incentive for local academic creators, local inventors. And we have sat down with them. We have modified clause after clause their IP policy by taking into account two main principles, of course. The main principle, the first, most important principle, is the function of academic institutions, which is to create knowledge and to disseminate it. But we have also tried to send this message. In order to do that, in order to be able to create and disseminate knowledge, we also need to create an environment of extended, of enhanced IP culture, where inventors are incentivized to create. And that's what was lacking in Cuba, and that's where we have worked on by specifically suggesting to insert in their IP policy criteria for quantifying royalties, predetermined and clear criteria for quantifying royalties, and also suggested to create commercialization groups within the technology transfer office, tasked with giving these commercialization groups the task to assessing the commercial viability of an invention, the accountability and the marketing related aspects of the invention. And so we have tried in general to introduce into the Cuban IP policy elements of commercialization, marketing, business administration principles that hopefully will help this university to incentivize the creation of commercially valuable inventions, having in mind the main final aim of this university, to make available the fruits of this research to the society.